Hello my dear friends, you're in the Military Summary channel, and in this short video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place in Ukraine during the previous 12 hours. First, we're going to start with the Kherson area, with this region where as we know, the battle between the Russians and Ukrainians continue for establishing control over the Antonov Bridge and Aleshki bridgehead in this area. And currently the situation plays in Ukrainian favor. During the previous days, the Ukrainians managed to establish a bridgehead on this territory. They control the situation, they have taken the initiative in this territory. And when talking about the Russians today, we got another video of evacuation. So when talking about the Russians, we saw just the videos, how they were bombing and shelling the Ukrainian positions and how they were trying to evacuate their forces. And as I understand, currently this is exactly what the Russians are trying to do. They're trying to evacuate their forces, or at least to move them safely from this bridgehead. On this video you can see how the Russians' personal armored carrier was running in direction of bridge, and after that this carrier got onto minefields, and after that the Russian soldiers start running away from this personal carrier. So, and as you can see, this video is geolocated, and these armored vehicles was moving to the north for evacuation purposes, to get wounded soldiers who are currently located in front of Ukrainian positions in Aleshki. But something went wrong, and this armored vehicle got on mine, and as you can see, according to the map, this armored vehicle got on mine on the Russian side of this bridge. Basically, the Ukrainians started using a very interesting tactics. It's a very modern tactic, we can say, and the Ukrainians start mining the bridge using the distance mining method. And there is 4 kilometers, not a very big distance for modern mining systems. So as you can see, everything fit the Ukrainian interest, and everything is for Ukrainians. This complete situation plays in Ukrainian favor. The Ukrainians understand that the critical point in this operation for the Russians is this bridge that the Russians use to send trucks and personal carriers for evacuation, and currently the Ukrainians completely focused on this area. It's like the beginning of the bridge, the beginning of this bridgehead. The Ukrainians using the distance mining methods to mine this territory, to destroy Russian personal carriers, tanks, and so on, that every single armored vehicles that the Russians sent to the north. Furthermore, today some Russian sources reported that Ukrainians started using kamikaze boats. So we haven't seen any video for confirmation, just the talks and maybe rumors, but the tactic is that Ukrainians send kamikaze boats, and the main purpose of that boats is to attack this part of the bridge. And the Ukrainians currently try to not to destroy. I'm not sure that the Ukrainians can destroy the bridge using the kamikaze drones, but at least they can damage bridge, and the main purpose, of course, to slow down the Russians and to force them to bypass this bridge very slow, very accurate. And of course this will allow the Ukrainians to continue bombing and shelling and mining this territory, and to reduce the Russian force as much as possible. Anyway, as we see, the Ukrainians develop their tactics. They involved more methods of war. They involved a new doctrine. And when talking about the Russians, they do have problems, and I believe that the next days we're going to see more evacuation videos from this bridgehead. The Russians, as I see, don't have any chances to hold this territory. Anyway, they will be forced to step back. If you ask my opinion, I don't see anything bad to leave this territory. Of course, the Ukrainians will be able to reduce the distance between the Ukrainians and the Russian positions, and then there are going to be real fights between Aleshki and the Ukrainians on the north. But maybe it's better than to just waste soldiers in front of bridge. But for now, the Russians continue fightings, no matter that Ukrainians establish fire and artillery control over the beginning of the bridge in front of Aleshki bridgehead, in front of this Antonov bridgehead. Now we are moving further, and we are going to Zaporizhzhia, Dnipro, Petykhatki area. The Russians made massive missile attack during the previous night. The explosions took place in Zaporizhzhia. There were a lot of very heavy explosions. Basically, the Russians were trying to attack and destroy the Ukrainians' positions, accumulation of their forces, ammo depots, service centers. When talking about the Ukrainians, they have completed and finishing the regrouping of their forces in the vicinity of Petykhatki, and 117th Brigade was finally redeployed in direction of Petykhatki. Now we see the real attack fist of the Ukrainians in this area. we expect the restarting of their operation, and currently we see that the Ukrainians are going to use forces of 65th Mechanized Brigade, 128th, 117th, 23rd Public Protection Brigade, 15th Operational Brigade, 130th Reconnaissance Battalion, and 73rd Navy Center of Special Operation. As the strategic operational reserves for this territory, we see the force of 116th Mechanized Brigade. The Ukrainians are completely ready to start offensive operation to attack. The Russians published another video, a geolocated video, how they destroyed another armored vehicle of Ukrainian forces in the vicinity of Zherebyanki. Now we understand that there is going to be nothing like difficult, nothing like modern, or nothing like very complicated. The Ukrainians will try using the rush tactic, mid-rush tactic. They will try to establish control and to attack in direction of Zherebyanki. This is the second target of the Ukrainians, and after that they will achieve operational square, and after taking settlements like Lapkovo, Petykhatki, Zherebyanki, the Ukrainians will be able to develop their offensive operation in any direction. As I discussed in the previous video, the only possible solution I see for the Russians, or they need to defeat the Ukrainians on the ground in Zherebyanki, in the vicinity of this bridgehead, or the Russians somehow need to establish control over Stepovo and to encircle the entire Ukrainian army in this area. Now we are moving further. We are going to Gulyai-Polye. The Ukrainians published the video how they were bombing and shelling the Russian positions in the vicinity of the settlement Inženjerna. So basically this confirms the situation that Russians controls this settlement, and as you can see on the video, the Ukrainians were trying to bomb and destroy Russian ammo depots, and mainly the Russians reserves that they used to defend the settlements like Bagate, Harlovka, and Novopokrovka. So the settlements in front of Belagorye and Lugovskoye. So also this confirms that the Russians control this territory. We haven't received any geolocated video from the south on the south of Novodanilovka. I believe there were clashes, and the Russians reported that Ukrainians using few platoons were trying to attack in direction of Rabotino, but that was like Rakov in combat. And but as soon as the Russians started artillery and rocket bombing, the Ukrainians were stretched their forces and stepped back in direction of Novodanilovka. Now we are moving further to Vremivka tactical bridgehead. The Ukrainians published the video how they were bombing and shelling the Russians' positions using the forces of 36th Mechanized Brigade. That basically confirms that geolocation, that redeployment of this brigade completely to this front line. This video is geolocated. The Ukrainians were trying at destroyed Russian armored vehicles and armored vehicle in the south of Novodaryevka. So basically it confirms that the Russians controlled this forest line. Yes, they lost armored vehicles, but everybody loses armored vehicles almost every single day. But the Russians controlled this forest line right in front of this settlement. So basically we haven't received any geolocation from this bridge between Staromayorsk and Peryutne. Just blogger Ryba reported that the Ukrainians have penetrated this area, but for now no video confirmation of that. Only after receiving such a confirmation we will update the map. The Russians published from their side another video how the Ukrainians were trying to storm the Russian positions, or were trying to move along the forest line to the south from the mainland in direction of line between Peryutin and Urozhaine, and they were moving to the south just light infantry without support of any armored vehicles. And after that the Russians started bombing and shelling this position, and as a result of that the Ukrainians lost their manpower and were forced to dig in very deep in these forest lines. Now we're moving further and we're getting to Avdiivka. The Russians published the video how they were geolocated video how they were bombing the Ukrainian positions in front on the north of Oputne. Basically confirmed, this video confirms that Ukrainians controlled this forest line. If you know, some mappers, at least live UA map shows that these forest lines are under Russian control, but as you can see this video confirms that this is probably a little bit speculation. The Ukrainians controlled this forest line, and the Russians were trying to hit the armored vehicles of the Ukrainians or positions in this small checkpoint or small stronghold in this area. Now we are moving further to Artyomovsk. The Russians published the video how they continue bombing and shelling the Ukrainian positions in Ivanovsk. Artyomovsk is a very interesting bridgehead. There are different there are different front lines of tactical operational level. There is a northern one in Ksaka and Vantseti, northwestern in the vicinity of Zalizniansk, Orekhovo, Vasilievka, southern one in Kurdyumovka, Klishevka, and the central one in Artyomovsk. And basically the Russians shows that there are a lot of forces, lots of positions, fire positions in Ivanovsk, and the Russians from the big buildings and using drones try to destroy the Ukrainian positions in Ivanovsk, the mortar positions, their eyes, their radars, and so on. As you can see, Ivanovsk is completely ruined, not like Marinka, of course, but I believe that this settlement is going to share the destiny of Marinka in the future. They're going to be nothing, just the dust, and the Russians, as you can see, continue bombing the Ukrainians. Also, the Ukrainians published two very interesting videos. The first one both confirms the geolocation in the Russian position. The first one is that how the Ukrainians were bombing a small ammo depot between Zalizniansk and Orekhovo-Vasilievka in this area, and it's a very interesting video, and I was very surprised and a little bit shocked. Even as you can see, there is an intersection of the roads. This video is geolocated. This is the interception, and as you can see, the Russians left a very big ammo depot right on the road, and it's very interesting. And the Ukrainians just sent their drone. This drone dropped their bomb, and later we see a fire on the box. So as you can see, ammunition was dropped on the road. Maybe some truck brought some ammunition, and the Russian soldiers that were located in this area should have take this munition, but something went wrong and the Ukrainians destroyed the entire supply of entire front line in this area. It's a very bad thing, and this video was published by 30th Mechanized Brigade, this 30th. So we see that this mechanized brigade is operating on this bridgehead. Interesting video came from the area between Grigorievka and Dubovo-Vasilievka, also published by the Ukrainians, by the tank brigade, by this 17th tank brigade. You see the icon, and basically this video confirms that Ukrainians were attacking the forest, this geolocation, and basically this video confirms that the Russians still controls the forest between Grigorievka and Dubovo-Vasilievka. If you remember, at the beginning of the counter-offensive operation in Artyomovsk vicinity, the Ukrainians attacked using the forces of 56 and 57th motorized brigade, and they were successful. At least the sources were saying that they were successful, and most of the mappers have updated their maps, including military summer channel. But now we see that maybe that attack wasn't so successful as it was shown in the media. Basically, according to that video, the Russians controls this forest and controls the trenches like this. So I will update this map by the next video. So this bridgehead is under Russian control, and this bridgehead completely changed the entire situation. This forest is under the positions of 56th and 17th Tank Brigade, but currently we see that the Russians do have cut the road between Grigorievka and Bogdanovka, but we see from the other side the Ukrainians haven't made any attempt to push the Russians from this bridgehead, and probably because of this forest and a very powerful stronghold of the Russians. I believe we have another final update, and the interesting thing is that the Ukrainians have redeployed the positions of the force of 32nd Mechanized Brigade. If you remember, this brigade, according to the previous versions of the map, used to located in the vicinity of Zaliznichne, but for some reason the Western sources map has been updated, and currently deployment map, this 32nd Brigade was redeployed in the vicinity or in the Kupiansk front line, and currently this brigade is located together with 92nd, and now there are 4 mechanized brigades like 14th, 88th, 32nd and 92nd mechanized brigade, and this is a very powerful fist to attack the Russians on the north and the Kupiansk front line. Also, there were very heavy explosions in Kharkiv. Today the Western sources published the video photo of possible military base of Wagner's in the territory of Belarus in the vicinity of Osipovichy. So this is the area of that base. It's ex-military base, and currently this ex-military base was given to Wagner for their purposes. For now, And as we discussed, this base Wagners can keep there at least 8,000 soldiers. Probably during the next half year they're going to be build more bases, but for now there's just one base, and around 8,000 soldiers have already possibilities for accommodation. And that's it for this short video. Military Summary channel reminds to condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.